Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group on YouTube. Today we have a WCW Nitro review. I'm going to start with the very first episode of WCW Monday Nitro, which happened on the 4th of September 1995. That's a long time ago now, isn't it? See, I was a fan of WCW before I was a fan of anything else, mainly because it was free on cable so I could watch it week in, week out. I started watching WCW, I reckon, around 1997 time. Not 100% sure. Obviously, it's a hell of a long time ago now. A lot of people obviously can tell you the exact match they first watched, the exact year, the exact event, pay-per-view, whatever. I can't. I mean, it just, I don't know. I reckon, based on some of the matches that I remember from being a kid, I reckon it's around 97. So obviously the first episode happened in 95, so it was before I started watching, and I was only 4 years of age at the time, so probably why I wasn't watching it. But yeah, so obviously thought, do you know what, I'll go back and have a look. I watched it years ago, obviously through the WWE network, it's all on there, so you can watch whatever you want, whenever you want. And I haven't watched it in a good while, so I thought, I got up this morning and I thought, I don't know what to do, and I thought, you know what, I seen Corbin on the group started rewatching some of the old ECW. So I thought, do you know what? I wouldn't mind rewatching WCW from the beginning. I mean, I always set out to watch stuff from the beginning, and it never pans out because it ends up time and everything else. You just don't end up actually starting at the beginning and finishing. Like I've tried with a couple of different things, it just doesn't end up working. So I thought, anyway, I'm gonna go and watch the first episode. And then as I was watching it, I thought, this would be quite cool as a video for the YouTube channel. Now I'm sure there's many people out there that have done the exact same thing and gone through and give you the review on every single WCW episode out there of Monday Nitro and such. But you know what? Why can't I be one of them as well? So I thought I'd start and do a short review on the first episode of WCW Nitro and just see how we get on, see how many views and interactions we get, and if it's worthwhile, I'll do another couple more, and we'll go from there. So, like I say, the first episode of WCW Nitro aired on the 4th of September 1995, and it was from the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. Do you know what? When I first looked at it and I put it on, completely forgot. Like I said, I've probably watched it once, maybe twice, years and years ago, maybe a decade or so ago. But I was watching it and I thought, where are they? At first, and I seen like the layouts, and I had the volume on, though I didn't have it that high because Eric Bischoff and Bobby Heenan and was the other fella Mongo screaming down. The commentary, I'm not a big fan. So I turned it down anyway, and I was looking at it and I thought, wow, I really like the layout of it when you see people up on the balcony and that, and they're all obviously watching that, and then obviously they love doing the camera angle where it zooms out so you can see the whole mall, and there's a lift, there's people going up on the lift, and there's a match going on, there's people going up on the escalators and looking over the side as there's a match going on. I just think it's brilliant, and you can see like different shops around, like Kids R Us and stuff like that. I just thought it was superb. I really, really liked the layout of it. I thought it was well good. Imagine going through a shopping mall and there's Hulk Hogan and Sting and Ric Flair and Arn Anderson and Macho Man. It'd just be unreal, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Obviously, it was advertised, people were there, obviously, to see the wrestling, but if you just had to nip out that day to go and get yourself a cucumber and stuff to watch Sting versus Ric Flair, I mean, why not? You know what I mean? But I really, really enjoyed that layout. I thought it looked really cool, really retro. But yeah, I really liked that layout, and I really, really liked that the first episode was in a shopping mall. I just think it's brilliant. You couldn't do that nowadays, could you? Not properly, not with the big companies. You couldn't. Maybe with the smaller ones you might get away with it, not with the big companies. So yeah, first match starts off and it's Flying Brian versus Jushin Thunder Liger. I mean, a decent match. I mean, bear in mind this episode was like an hour long on TV. There's obviously minus your breaks. It's about 44, 45 minutes long. So obviously there's 3 matches in it, so the matches aren't going to go long. So they've got to get the storyline and then the build and everything else. So the matches weren't long, but they were good enough. Weren't fantastic. They were good enough. You know what I mean? Like I say, it was a decent match. Did feel a little tiny bit clunky at times with 1 or 2 of the moves that they were trying, but do you know what? There's probably nerves and stuff as well being on the first ever episode of Nitro. It must have been nervous, going out there and doing it, and obviously with them being live as well. So, but it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Flying Brian gets the pinfall, does like a flip over pin on the 6:52 mark. So, like I say, match isn't very long, but even after the match, they're not in the ring very long, so it's not really about them, is it? It was a good match, and for wrestling fans, it's good to watch and stuff like that. But obviously for the likes of WCW, it's a good filler match for them. They want to put on the big names and the big stars and that, so it's not really about them, if you like. But just for the fact that you can say, though, that Flying Brian, obviously Brian Pillman, and Jushin Thunder Liger, they had the first ever match on Nitro. That's pretty cool. That is something really good that you can't take away from them, can you? So it's really good to say that they were able to do that. But yeah, it was a decent match. Even after the match, they shook hands, held hands up together in like a victory pose, and obviously then got out the ring as quick as they could. And then we go to, I don't know if you remember this, Pasta Mania. Hulk Hogan advertising Pasta Mania with loads of kids screaming and shouting and that, and he's there and he's doing his, his normal, his promo, and he's like, Hulkamania and brother, Pasta Mania, get down to Pasta Mania, brother, and he's there and he's like got his world title. He's got a marker in his hand, so he's been doing some signings for the kids and that outside of Pasta Mania. But yeah, that was 100% cringe. It was like 80s cringe wrestling promo style stuff, isn't it? To advertise crap that no one wants and hope that they get it. But yeah, it was really cringy. But I suppose at the time it'd have been like, oh my god, to see Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania, But looking back on it in 2023, it's really cringy. Match number 2 is probably the match of the night. I mean, there was only 3 matches there. Sting versus Ric Flair. Always great when them two get in the ring together. They obviously faced on the very first episode of the Nitro, and then faced again on the very last episode of the Nitro. So, I mean, it was a good match. It's everything that you expect from Ric Flair versus Sting. It was for the WCW United States Championship. But obviously the moments that stole the show, stole the whole episode, was, Lex Luger making his debut. He turns up on Nitro, and obviously he'd literally just been in the WWF, so it was obviously unannounced. It's a big shock. He rocks up. Everyone's like, whoa, what's going on here? Even the wrestlers in the ring, like, whoa, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So obviously that was the moment in the night. I don't think it took away from the match. And then we get Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson comes out, and which I thought was weird. As soon as he gets into the ring, the referee calls no contest. He's already rang the bell. Like, he literally, because Ric Flair's got Sting in a figure 4, and he's using the ropes for leverage. So then the ref's giving it, the count and that. Which I always thought was mad. Like, the referee does the count up to what he's supposed to, which is obviously like 4 or 5. Because then you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DQ. So he does it, and then he starts trying to rag Flair's arms off. And he's like, you've done it, mate, that's your DQ, and he'd done it again in the Hogan match. I talk about proper getting into this match, this dude. Do you know what? I should have actually looked up who it was, and I apologise, I didn't. But the referee was getting far too involved in some of these matches. So yeah, he's trying to rag Ric Flair's hands off the ropes, and Flair gets back to the ropes again, so he starts to count again, and then Arn Anderson slides in the ring. As soon as he slides in, he's like, ding ding, that's it. I mean, he could have just slid in the ring and slid back out the other side. I mean, obviously not, but he could have done. But he's already literally called it before there's been any interaction at all. And then Arn Anderson and Ric Flair go at it. They start fighting. And Rick goes off to the back, and the match is no contest, and obviously Sting then retains the WCW United States Championship because of Arn Anderson's interference. So, I mean, disappointing the fact that we didn't get the end of the match, but I suppose, like, you know, it progressive storylines and stuff keeps both men strong on the very first episode. But yeah, probably still the better match of the night. And the longest match as well, just under 9 minutes long. But yeah, after that we get Sabu's video package of Sabu coming to Nitro next week, I think. It's a decent little package. Nothing spectacular, just a couple of highlights and stuff, but look cool nonetheless. And then we have the main event of Hulk Hogan versus Big Bubba, or as you may know him as the Bossman, for the WCW World Title. And that match lasted just over 7 minutes long. Again, not really long matches, but like I say, when you've got an hour's worth of TV, well, not even an hour's worth of TV, you've got an hour show and about 45 minutes worth of TV, you know, you can't be having half-hour matches, you know what I mean? So it wasn't a bad match, wasn't really a good match, you know, just sort of one of them in-betweeners, you know. I've always been a fan of Bossman. I liked Bossman a lot more than what I liked Hogan, but, you know, Big Bubba in WCW wasn't great. But you know, it's all the usual, your finger pointing to use and everything else is what you'd expect from obviously a Hulk Hogan title match. So obviously Hulk Hogan takes the victory, retains the title on the 7th minute. Easy win really as well. But it was all about what happened obviously at the end with Lex Luger comes out, Hulk Hogan and Lex clear the ring and face to face, and you know it's the whole "what are you doing here, brother?" blah blah blah. You know, Macho Man gets involved, Sting gets involved, everyone's trying to split them off, and then Hulk Hogan's like, "All you've got to do, brother, is shake my hand, and I will put my title on the line against you next week on Monday Nitro, brother." So then obviously Lex shakes his hand, and then the next thing is they both shove each other, and they both start pointing in each other's faces and all that. And it's like we literally just shook hands. I don't know. It felt a bit weird. Maybe that's just because I'm watching it back now. But like you say, that was obviously the main talking point of the debut episode was Lex Luger coming over and literally just been on WWF, making a big deal there. Obviously then him coming out, and they've already announced for next week we'll have Hulk Hogan versus Lex Luger for the WCW World Title. I mean, for a debut episode, it had pretty much everything, didn't it? It had Sting, it had Ric Flair, it had Hulk Hogan, 2 title matches, you know, some pasta thrown in there in the middle. We hadn't seen a bit of Macho Man, you know, Lex debuts, you know, finger pointy brother, world title match for next week. I mean, what more do you want from a debut episode? But no, seriously, really, really good, solid first episode. And if I was watching it back in the time in 1995, I mean, it would have been before, but you get what I mean. If I was watching it back when it was on, it was around then times. Like, there's no doubt I'd be tuning into the next week to see the next match and to see what actually goes off when these two big behemoths and egos collide in Lex Luger and Hulk Hogan. So that's the way they played it off. But do you know what? Like a really good solid episode, and I'll definitely go and rewatch it again. Like I say, it's on the WWE network. All you gotta do is just go over, find WCW, click on it, find Nitro, and there you go, you're away. I mean, I probably haven't watched full episodes of WCW Nitro for a good while, because what I tend to do is I rewatch that docu-series of the Monday Night Wars. I absolutely love that series that they did, and I will rewatch that to death. I think it's phenomenal. Some of the docu-series that they do on WWE, to be fair to them, is like second to none. Like obviously that one, I love the Ruthless Aggression one as well. I loved obviously the Undertaker's ones as well. So you know they do great series. But I thought, you know what, I just fancy going back and actually watching the full first episode, and I blame Corbin Skipworth. It's your fault for you going back and rewatching ECW and then filling my news feed full of random reviews of the episode. So I thought, you know what, why not have a random review of the WCW Nitro episode 1. And yeah, so I mean overall, like I say, it did everything that it was supposed to do, did everything it needed to do. I really enjoyed the layout. All matches were pretty decent, nothing spectacular, but nothing terrible at the same time. you know, and obviously the surprising appearance of Lex Luger, and then the announcement of the world title match next week. So I mean, it hit all cylinders, and I'd probably give it. I mean, if you're talking overall as a spectacle for the very first time, 45 minutes worth, I give it an 8. Solid 8 out of 10 for the debut episode of WCW Nitro. As always, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you'd rate the very first episode of WCW Nitro. I'm going for an 8 out of 10. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and be sure to check out more wrestling related content coming your way very soon.